order to understand why the first 3 years in a child's life are so important, it helps to know how the brain develops.
We now know, for instance, that young children do indeed have an incredible capacity for learning language and forming relationships, and that those abilities come really on the blueprint of human beings.
Recent discoveries in brain technology have given scientists the ability to see just how that blueprint develops. We now know that by the 17th week of pregnancy, a healthy fetus already has over 1 billion brain cells, more than a fully grown adult. But the cells are not in the right place. It's only after they form that they begin to travel to specific parts of the brain. What you see here is actual footage of migrating cells, something scientists have only recently been able to capture. Once these cells reach their destination, they form connections with other cells called synapses, which control various functions of the brain. By the time we're born, each cell has already made hundreds of thousands of connections, but there's still billions more to be made.
Peekaboo! Melody! Peekaboo!
From early infancy on into childhood is when brain cells form most of the connections we will keep through life.
And what will happen is, based upon a variety of factors, including environmental factors, experience, some of these will die off and some of them will be maintained. And over time, this incredible process of neuronal architecture is laid out so that you have a functioning brain.
As we mature, the brain physically changes due to outside influences. The most rapid change occurs during the first 3 years when a child is bombarded with hundreds of new experiences. It is at this point in development that the brain is most flexible and prepared to learn, building new connections where needed and casting off others that aren't used. This ability to rewire itself due to outside influences is what neurologists call brain plasticity.
One of the things that's really important to remember about development of the brain is that, in contrast to every other organ, the brain is not developed at birth. At birth, your heart is fully organized, and it is pumping blood, and it's doing exactly what it's going to do for the rest of that person's life. And it is just a tiny little version of the big adult heart. That's not the way the brain is.
In order to get your brain to be what it's going to be as an adult, certain sets of experiences need to take place. What parents do for their children early on can have a marked effect on the wiring of a child's brain. How you touch a baby, how you talk to a baby.
Say hi.
What a baby sees and smells all cause connections to be made. But unless these experiences are continued in a loving, consistent, predictable manner, the connections will die.
The brain is exquisitely responsive to experience. And in the absence of experience, all of these synaptic connections are not maintained. So they're all pruned back and the brain literally stays small. If you take animals that are raised in the wild, where there's a whole rich network of experiences, their brains are 20 to 30% larger than the brains of animals that are raised in the zoo. If you take children who are raised in an environment that is environmentally deprived, fewer colors, fewer pictures, fewer sounds, fewer smells, fewer interactions with human beings, less touch, their brains will be smaller. In fact, we look at the CAT scans on some of these kids, or the MRIs on these kids, and the neuroradiologists, who know nothing about these kids really, they hold it up and they go, huh, this looks like an Alzheimer's brain. But they don't have Alzheimer's. They just didn't have the experiences that grow the brain.
As a baby masters new skills, new connections are made. A continuous process of wiring that reaches its peak at 3 years old. Then, as part of the process of normal, healthy development, the brain begins to rid itself of cells that aren't being used. Between the ages of 3 and 5, children will naturally lose about 40% of the brain cells they were born with.
So that if you really want to help organize a child's brain, you need to get to it early in life. if you provide the same kinds of experiences for the same period of time when somebody's 10, you won't have the same impact as you would if you did that when they were 2.
But it's not just a matter of presenting the right kinds of experiences at the right time. Your baby has to respond to what you do.